KCCI 8 News at 6 starts right now.
It is a funnel cloud, but it's sort of hard to see over the corn, but we do believe it's briefly touched down.
Here's the big one out of Bondurant, and you can see it hitting that neighborhood. Watch it hit a couple of houses.
Take a look at this house here that is on the corner of Mallard Point and 2nd Avenue. This was a two-story house. It is no longer.
This storm is just north of Pella right now, the most dangerous part of the storm.
They had a bit of a warning. The tornado hit plant number 7. We've heard from one witness that a wall may have collapsed.
In the middle there, that is where you have the tornado. Oh, this is not good.
We can see, I think you can get a better idea. There is a red car underneath this.
Let's hope for the best. Good evening and welcome to a very special KCCI 8 News at 6. Steve Carlin, Stacy Horst in Marshalltown live outside the Marshall County Courthouse.
And you can see the courthouse behind us. The repairs are still underway on this 133-year-old building. Repairs also underway on a number of other buildings here in downtown Marshalltown. And that's just one of the hundreds of buildings who were damaged or destroyed in Bondurant, east of Pella and Marshalltown by a string of tornadoes that touched down a year ago today.
And tonight our crews are back in all 3 of those cities, and what we're doing, we're looking what happened 1 year ago, July 19th, but also we're highlighting the progress that's been made in each city. Bondurant, Pella, Marshalltown, they've done a lot of work on their recovery, and we're looking ahead to what still needs to be done.
That's right. But first, we want to check in with KCCI's Max Deeknight. We have late-breaking news surrounding the firing of former Department of Human Services Director Jerry Foxhoven.
KCCI's Max Deeknight is back at Des Moines in the studio. Max.
Yeah, hey, Steve and Stacy. Iowa Public Radio is reporting tonight that Foxhoven told online music website Pitchfork that Governor Kim Reynolds, quote, asked me to do something that I thought was illegal, so I wouldn't do it. Foxhoven says that's when Governor Reynolds asked for his resignation. The governor's office said she would not go on camera to talk about the allegation, but they did release a statement tonight. It reads, quote, we have no idea what former Director Foxhoven is referring to. He never raised a concern like that to us. Now, Foxhoven resigned June 17th. Steve and Stacy, back to you in Marshalltown.
All right, Max, thank you very much. We have, if you've stepped outside, you know about it, a very serious weather situation here in central Iowa. The temperature's dangerously high.
That's right. Chief Meteorologist Curtis Gertz is live in downtown Washington with us tonight. Curtis has the latest on the forecast.
Yeah, it is probably the most humid day of the year. It may be the most humid day the rest of the year. I mean, the dew points are outrageous. It's very hot. Please take it easy if you're out. Just move slow. One thing we did here in Marshalltown, we saw the damage and we installed a live webcam to give you a vantage point here in Marshalltown. 92 degrees, feels like temperature 110. The south wind, it's not helping at all. It's just pushing the moisture into the state. Now, if you're headed out this evening after sunset, it is slow to cool. Feels like temperatures in the 90s at 11 p.m. There's relief in store for the weekend. It will not arrive on Saturday. Saturday in the 90s and an excessive heat warning across the state. But a cold front moves on through. And along that front, a very good chance of showers and thunderstorms late Saturday into Sunday morning. Look at the dramatic change. We go from the 90s into the 70s. It's going to feel downright cold to finish your weekend. 8-day forecast. We'll see how long the beautiful weather lasts with those details coming up live from Marshalltown.
Thank you, Curtis. You know, at this time last year, the people here in Marshalltown were just starting to survey the damage from an EF3 tornado that basically tore right through here.
That's right. KCCI's Lauren Donovan was here as well. She was bringing us some of the first pictures of the damage that tornado caused in just a matter of minutes. And tonight she shows us how contractors and property owners have been working nonstop since last July, trying to get these devastated neighborhoods rebuilt.
You come down here in the neighborhood and you see 90% of the houses being done. That's pretty good for as much devastation as there was.
Destruction that's been keeping Bobby Abrams busy since last July. He says the progress he sees in these neighborhoods has been promising. But he admits he's sick of siding.
We have literally been siding all year.
And it's siding you'll see on each corner you turn.
You know, you can drive up and down Main Street and you can see roofs still with tarps on.
Rolling down the main drag, you'll notice nearly as many construction crews as you do people.
You drive around and you see Habitat and you see all the volunteer people coming through.
Outreach, motivating Abrams to hustle his hardest so he can mend these broken windows.
And we stay busy.
Reporting in Marshalltown,
Strong. Marshalltown strong.
Lauren Donovan, KCCI 8 News, Iowa's news leader.
Well, you know, it was an EF3 tornado that hit Marshalltown, but another one hit the town of Pella. It cut a path of destruction just east of the town there.
That's right. It did minor damage to some homes, some outbuildings, and some crops. But when it hit the Vermeer plant, it destroyed 2 buildings, and it tossed vehicles in the parking lot around like they were toys. KCCI senior reporter Todd Magel was one of the first reporters on scene.
Yes, Todd joins us now live from outside Vermeer Manufacturing tonight. And Todd, Vermeer almost looks transformed from what it was a year ago.
Steve and Stacy, what a difference a year makes. We were here 1 year ago. It was a very scary night. The buildings behind me were the ones that were damaged here in what they call the Vermeer Mile. We actually set up live a year ago just outside what they call the Global Pavilion, and we were here all night long taking a look at the damage. The tornado touched down just to the west of where we are now on the other end of this corporate campus. It tore through several manufacturing buildings. It pulled up and piled up employee cars and trucks here all along this parking lot. That was one of the most amazing things we saw. But another amazing thing, nobody was badly injured because Vermeer practices what they call routine tornado warning drills. In each of these buildings, there is a tornado shelter, and that's where everybody went during this tornado last year. Coming up later, we'll show you how the company has recovered in this past year and how they're actually calling this tornado an opportunity. The company is growing bigger and better than ever. More sales. They're building new buildings now. We'll show you all that coming up a little bit later in this newscast. Steve and Stacy.
All right, thank you, Todd. Well, the first Iowa community to be hit by a tornado was Bondurant. There was a string of 19 tornadoes that night, and Bondurant got it first.
That's right. We have some Iowa Department of Transportation video from the Interstate 80 overpass at First Avenue. It shows not one but 2 funnel clouds taken. They were headed east. Shortly after the video was taken, one of the 2 funnel clouds cut through a Bondurant neighborhood, damaging several homes, even causing a gas leak.
Well, KCCI's Tommy Clark was out covering the tornadoes as they moved through central Iowa. She joins us now live from Bondurant with a look at the neighborhood that the tornado hit 1 year later.
Steve and Stacy, as you look around this neighborhood, you would never know that this is where a tornado came down, crossing this street and then striking this row of homes. This is what it looked like 1 year ago. But today, homes are rebuilt, including the home that had an entire story ripped off of it. We spoke with a family that had that gas leak, and they're one of a few homes that are still rebuilding. That's because they've faced problems with contractors and insurance companies. We're going to have more and elaborate on the problems that they're facing 1 year after that tornado touchdown a little bit later in our special. For now, live in Bondurant, I'm Tommy Clark, KCCI News, Iowa's news leader.
All right, thank you, Tommy. That's not all in Bondurant. Stepping up. That's what you can say about the Bondurant Farrar High School football team. They went into action to help their fellow tornado survivors 1 year ago.
That's right. A lot of tornado survivors are still struggling with what happened a year ago today, especially in Marshalltown. That's why it's so hard for many residents there to rebuild.
Welcome back to our KCCI 8 News at 6 special live presentation of After the Storm. Now, we've already shown you that many tornado survivors have already rebuilt their homes and businesses after the tornado rolled through.
Yeah, but as KCCI's Laura Terrell shows us, there are many other families, especially here in Marshalltown, who are still struggling to get back to a pre-tornado normal.
Bromley Street was one of the hardest hit areas in Marshalltown. We've been back a few times over the past year, but even a year later, it's incredible to still see this damage, like this massive uprooted tree.
It just feels like a war zone still down there.
Uprooted trees and tarps still on homes 1 year later make it hard to forget.
It doesn't feel like it's been a year.
Lacey Smith and her family lost everything 1 year ago.
This slab of concrete is was our driveway.
In April, she took us to the piece of land where their home once sat. Years of memories reduced to rubble.
This is something you can't get back.
But small glimpses of hope return, like this tattered page of her son's baby book found a mile away. Our Sky 8 gives a bird's eye view of Bromley Street today. There is progress, but still a lot of work to be done. Smith's family is working on recovering with a new dog. Within the last few weeks, they also purchased a new house. They didn't get much insurance money after the disaster, so there were no funds to rebuild.
We were almost done paying off the house we were living in. It was so close to being done, and it feels like we have to start all over. She is a good dog.
While there are many new beginnings happening this year, Smith says the past will always haunt them.
It's an awful feeling when you do have the onset of anxiety and panic.
Riding out the storm left her with post-traumatic stress disorder. She says storms now give her anxiety attacks, but her therapist has helped her find new ways to cope each day.
And it just shows like how you can still go through so much in a year and not able to fully recover.
In Marshalltown, Laura Terrell, KCCI 8 News, Iowa's news leader.
July 19th, 2018, it was tornadoes all over central Iowa. July 19th, 2019, it's extreme heat.
That's right. We want to check in with Chief Meteorologist Curtis Gertz live in downtown Marshalltown tonight for the latest on this forecast.
Yeah, I'm going to the Marshalltown pool. I mentioned that at 5. That's my destination after there. I saw everybody having fun on such a hot day. It doesn't matter where you live in the state. It is blistering out there. Current reading, 95 degrees in Des Moines. The dew point 75. We're just a smidge cooler here in Marshalltown. Our feels like temperature in Des Moines, 107, but the moisture is higher in Marshalltown, so their feels like temperature, where we are right now, 110, feels like 111 in Atlantic. I mean, it's after sundown, it's not going to cool down that quickly, folks. I cannot point out anymore that how humid it is. It's so humid. There's dew points in the 80s. That's outrageous. That's more moist than the Amazon rainforest. So keep that in mind. Storms to the north tonight up in Minnesota and Wisconsin. A few of those may kind of try to taste northern Iowa. Look at the difference in Minneapolis tomorrow and Rapid City. That cool air, it's headed our way. It's going to get much more enjoyable. St. Louis, 99 degrees. Hour by hour, dry for most our Saturday. Storms try to fire in northern Iowa. Then storms will fire as we head into Saturday night and Sunday. Widespread rains tapering off as we head into southern Iowa as the day goes along. Rainfall amounts, we got a lot of moisture. Some of these storms are slow moving. So there's going to be some heavy rainfall. Now, I don't expect this exact amount in your rain gauge, but that's kind of potential out there. Some locations more than 2 inches of rain. Town to town tomorrow, mostly sunny and 90s in Indianola. It's going to take a while for the cold front to get here. Southwestern Iowa, you'll be baking. Notice the difference. Northern Iowa, Esterville, 70s. Northern Iowa is the place to be, except for the storms tomorrow, late afternoon. Same in Clarion, cooling down. Southeastern Iowa, it's not arriving, the cool air, until Saturday night. If you're headed to Lake Rathbun, just sit on a floaty all day. That's the thing to do. 80 degrees tomorrow, clear skies. Tomorrow, the high, that's tonight. Tomorrow, the 93 for a high. Excessive heat warning until 7 p.m. Look at the heat indices. Watch what happens. Now, watch this graphic. You can see the cool air just shooting in right there. So much better by tomorrow night, especially late. 8-day forecast. Sunday, a very good chance of rain. Look at the change in temperatures. Next week, I'm going to be on Ragbri for some of these days. Coincidence? I think not. It's so nice. Matter of fact, 57 Tuesday morning, and then 80s to finish the week. I was in Storm Chaser behind me, and I found some hand warmers from this winter. I may need these on some of those nights on Ragbri. That's the dramatic change in temperatures. I hope you enjoy the cool down.
We can't wait. Curtis, thank you very much. Well, 1 year after the tornado, they are still working on the heavily damaged Marshall County Courthouse that you can see behind us.
That's right. Coming up, we will take you inside this rebuild to see why this reconstruction is no easy process.
Plus, the big play the Bondurant for our high school football team made just after the tornado swept through their town.
The whole team's out here.
The Bondurant football team made headlines with their amazing play off the field last July.
They did. KCCI's Elgin Rucker shows us how the team responded to the Bondurant tornado.
All of a sudden, I had my mom and my dad and my grandma all calling me, and they're just like, "Where are you?"
I had a dentist appointment, heard the tornado sirens going off. A lot of times it's just warnings and nothing really happens.
But this was no warning.
Oh my God.
A tornado outbreak had just touched down in Bondurant.
Honey, get inside.
Yeah, it was just, the tornadoes are they're really powerful. It was everything was gone in a couple minutes, their entire lives.
When the chaos settled,
cancel our camp, we canceled the workouts the next day, and I just sent a message.
He texted us and asked us if we'd be willing to do this. And so instead of lifting that morning like we normally do, we went out and got gloves and helped clean up.
This is practice?
Yep. I wasn't surprised when, the majority of our team showed up, and not only showed up, but eager to work, eager to help.
The team spent about 4 hours that next morning picking up debris and consoling their neighbors, thankful that it was over.
Thank you so much.
Just seeing huge pieces of wood and stuff like that, and just thinking how if that was someone, they would have been long gone.
Now, during that cleanup effort, the team was met by Governor Kim Reynolds thanking them for their help. But for these guys, it wasn't about the recognition.
And they were doing it with all pure intentions, and that's a testament to the type of kids we have.
Now, a year later, that moment they shared is still in their hearts.
That day just showed how good it was to be a part of something like that.
Elgin Rucker, KCCI, Iowa's news leader.
We have showed you how contractors are working nonstop to rebuild the homes in Marshalltown.
That's right. Still to come on after the storm, we show you the progress Marshalltown is making in rebuilding its downtown. We'll be right back.
This is a KCCI 8 News special presentation, After the Storm.
Welcome back to Marshalltown and our special After the Storm. This is a special hour-long edition of KCCI 8 News at 6. We're just starting the second half hour. And you know what? 1 year ago, 19 tornadoes spotted across this part of Iowa in just 2.5 hours.
Now, most of them came down in farm fields, caused very little building damage, but 3 of them cut through Bondurant, east of Pella, and then Marshalltown. 22 people were hurt. Hundreds of homes and businesses were damaged or destroyed.
This is Doppler indicated, and it would be near northeast of the Bondurant area right now.
Just before 3 o'clock, KCCI viewer TJ Phillips captured this video of the tornado in the area of Northeast 64th Street in Bondurant. You can see the spark and the fire of transformers as the tornado picks them off one by one. A number of homes were damaged.
You can see this house over here on Mallard Point Drive. Roof has been just completely lifted off of this.
About an hour later, the National Weather Service says just after 4 o'clock, a tornado developed 3 miles north of Pella.
It's a tornado on the ground. The strength of it, based on what I'm seeing on radar, is well over 100 miles an hour.
It traveled southeast, damaging crops, trees, and some farm buildings. By the time it hit the Vermeer plant, it was rated an EF3. This view from Sky 8 shows plant number 7 was destroyed. Other buildings also were damaged, and vehicles were tossed around like toys. Emergency crews combed the scene.
Some of those crews are working around the Vermeer buildings, trying to make sure that there's nobody trapped inside the buildings.
As the storm weakened after hitting Vermeer, just before 4:30, another popped up northwest of Marshalltown.
So if you're in Marshalltown and Marshalltown Northwest, please seek shelter.
It strengthened from an EF1 to an EF3 as it moved east through the community.
You can tell the tornado has just gone through here. We have significant tree damage that is blocking the roadway.
The storm snapped the cupola and spire right off the clock tower of the historic Marshall County Courthouse. The 132-year-old building, a battered mess. The historic downtown sustained a whole lot of damage.
Behind me is, from speaking to people here, is one of the oldest buildings here in Marshalltown, and it has been it looks like it's been completely gutted.
Unity Point Hospital in Marshalltown was hit, and the 43 patients there had to be relocated to other hospitals. Parts of the hospital were closed for 7 days. The tornado weakened quickly and was over at 4:47 p.m.
And as you saw in the story, KCCI Chief Meteorologist Curtis Gertz tracked every single tornado and gave folks in all those communities plenty of warning to find safety.
Yeah, Curtis always commands our severe weather coverage. And the thing I remember about that night, Curtis, Stacy and I were out there on the set, and I remember your surprise at how quickly this storm developed into a big-time storm.
Oh yeah, that's really what happened with this Marshalltown storm. Is it started out weak and then intensified very quickly. Unfortunately, it intensified over the town of Marshalltown. I thought I'd show you the storm path to just kind of give you a feel of what went on there. It started out west and northwest of town. Initial damage with this EF0 storm, EF0, and then watch what happens as it moves into Marshalltown. EF3, EF2, EF3 damage, sustained winds, 144 miles an hour, an incredibly wide storm. It weakened as it moved out of town. We always talk on Doppler radar about the hook echo. Look at how impressive it was as it headed into Marshalltown. The storm strengthened as it moved into town, and then you look at the reflectivity. I wanted to show you this area in purple. What that is that's a debris ball. Anytime you see that high reflectivity in the hook, that's debris. That's the debris from the courthouse. And then I did a cross section here. That debris lofted over 3 miles high in the storm, and that's why sometimes with these storms you'll find things from post-tornado 20-30 miles away from the storm. So a very impressive storm that moved into Marshalltown, and as I mentioned, unfortunately for the folks in Marshalltown, it strengthened right as it moved into town.
Thank you, Curtis. You know, just a few days after the tornado hit Marshall County, the Marshalltown and the Marshall County Courthouse, work began to restore this 19th century building.
Yeah, 133 years old. If you ever saw it before the storm, you know how beautiful it was. And KCCI's Lauren Donovan gives us a look inside at the work they're doing to bring it back.
If you change your focus from the rubble that remains and instead place the future in the foreground,
it's hard to believe.
You'll see this scaffolding and this siding is something to celebrate.
A year ago, wow, it's amazing. So welcome to the new normal.
Nearly 9 months ago, we first walked into the Marshall County Courthouse. Back then, Auditor Nan Benson was sure not beaming like she is now.
So this is where people got their birth certificates, passports.
Her excitement is easy to spot as she shows us the second floor.
The last time you were here visiting us, we couldn't walk in here. We are done here. This has had 2 levels of concrete poured.
Benson says while she wishes the tornado had never tore up her town, it could not have hit at a more opportune time. And that's because the city was already planning a massive renovation. So they had some funds already set aside.
We're trying to keep the historic elements in the rotunda.
The grand courtroom will be preserved as well, even though at the moment it's serving as more of a haphazard storage unit. And as for the 123-year-old cupola that toppled over,
it will be constructed out of different materials, so to hope it will even last even longer.
But it will look exactly as you remember it. Reporting in Marshalltown, Lauren Donovan, KCCI 8 News, Iowa's news leader.
And Marshall County hopes to reopen the courthouse next spring. Now, you can still see a lot of the damage from the tornado as you walk around Marshalltown today.
Yeah, the scars are everywhere. There are still a lot of tarps in this town. And just a few blocks west of here, just right down this way to what would be your right, the local radio station tower was hit. And the signal was spotty and sporadic right after that, but using a backup generator and then some bypass equipment, they never totally left the air. They streamed for a while, and you know what? That is a very good thing.
431, that is that confirmed tornado located near Marshalltown.
When a tornado is bearing down on your town, the basement of a bank building is a pretty good place to be.
This is the tornado shelter for the building.
On July 19th, 2018, it was good for KFJB AM and KIX 101.1 FM, but it was great for the city of Marshalltown, specifically starting at 4:38 that afternoon.
We could feel the pressure in our ears when it passed over.
I can feel the pressure in my ears. I don't know if you can feel that, Ken.
Yeah, I can a little bit.
It was an EF3 twister with top winds of 144 miles per hour. the strongest storm to hit the state of Iowa since 2015. Marshalltown's only radio stations were on the air, and they stayed on the air for days.
Our job was just to get the information out that we got from the police chief, that we got from the sheriff, that we got from emergency management.
Real-time information that saved real lives in real time.
They heard us say, you know, that tornado's coming right down Summit Street, State Street, and they got to safety.
In the aftermath, much of Marshalltown was a war zone. So the stations, now simulcasting, got the word out.
Saying we've got to keep people out of the area, we're going to set curfews up, and they needed a way to get that information out.
Listenership for the 100,000-watt station grew tenfold following the tornado.
I have 81 outside the Kickswood 1.1 studios.
General Manager Todd Steinkamp is kind of modest.
Our city licensed Marshalltown, so it was our job to make sure that we served it.
Steinkamp and his staff served their city so well, they were named Broadcaster of the Year by the Iowa Broadcasters Association.
Getting that award was flattering. It was nice, but no offense to the IBA, I'd give it right back if I knew this tornado wasn't going to happen.
But it did. And it's good for Marshalltown that they have a strong, community-minded local broadcaster like KFJB, KIX.
I get up on my soapbox and I talk about your satellite radio stations and your internet-based radio stations and stuff. Yep, they've got the music, but the things that they can't do is exactly what we did that day to help save lives.
Congratulations to Todd Steinkamp, Iowa Broadcaster of the Year. We at KCCI, another strong, community-minded local broadcaster. Interesting thing is, Steinkamp and his investors, they took over the ownership of the radio station exactly 1 month before the tornado hit.
Oh, timing is everything,
yeah, exactly.
isn't it?
They came through it okay. They're doing great. What a wonderful guy.
Yeah, good for them. So another place hit really hard by those July 2018 tornadoes was the Vermeer plant on the east side of Pella.
That's right. And coming up on after the storm, KCCI's Todd Magel is live outside the Vermeer plant, and he shows us how its owners and employees repaired and even improved the facility.